What we're going to do for aches and pains is also going to help us on every level. So we talk about physical, mental, emotional, energetic, and spiritual, and they're all, of course, connected. But today, I just want to kind of go through a really simple two-step process to address pretty much any ache or pain that will arise during pregnancy. So the first thing we're always going to do is start from making space. So what does this mean? Making space for ourselves. Sometimes we're so busy, we forget we're pregnant. Sometimes we are too distracted to even hear the messages that our bodies are sending us. So taking a moment to just sit quietly. I'm not going to call it meditating because a lot of people have hang-ups about this, but maybe closing your eyes, maybe just softening and allowing your breath to go a little deeper into the back of your body, especially. So what this does is it initiates the parasympathetic nervous system, which then slows down our heart rate, our firings of the neurons of our brain. We can just relax a little bit. And from this place, we can hear our body's wisdom. So our body always knows what it needs and what it wants and the ways in which it's out of alignment. In our teacher trainings, we go through a lot of practices and principles and actions we can do with certain parts of the body. Honestly, a 1-minute meditation will probably give you an equal amount of results in aligning your body because you just simply listen and respond. For instance, if you have an asymmetry like I do, when I close my eyes and I breathe consciously through into both sides of my lungs, my body starts to shift. The asymmetry unwinds. All right, so the first thing always is creating space. And the second principle is this idea of stabilizing. A lot of us, when we feel an ache or pain, we think we have to stretch it. And this is so funny to me, and because it's the exact opposite that often is what the body's asking. Pregnancy hormones like relaxin, progesterone, what they do is they allow the joint in the front of the pelvis to separate so that the baby's head can go out. Well, unfortunately, they work on every joint of the body, wrist, elbow, hips, and everything becomes destabilized. So what does that mean? Like with the hip, you have the femur head, right? The thigh head here, and it's going into a dent. And it likes to be nice and snug and firm and have integrity, and then it can move around easily. But if it starts to back out like this, it's going to actually rub in different places and cause pain and suffering. So we want to hug these joints in. We want to create stability. So I'm going to actually give you some examples of how to apply these simple principles. Obviously, in a yoga class, especially a Ma yoga class that's alignment based, you're going to get guided step by step through each of these actions so that you can do them in different parts of the body. Because while the principles are really simple, it is kind of a lifetime of exploring how to apply them for the shoulders, for the wrists, for the neck, for the ankles. How do I stabilize my ankle? A friend of mine just twisted her ankle, right? So I can give her the 2 little things to do that will help heal the ankle in alignment in an optimal way. Okay, so let me give you that. And so the first example is knee pain and ankle pain. And I'm going to just give you like a really basic action you can do that will help both. Is it everything? No, there's always more. But there is a muscle that goes all the way down the outer shin and underneath the foot. This muscle, it's a group of muscles called the peroneals. And when we engage this muscle, we stabilize the knee and also the ankle. And the way to engage it is you kick your shoes off and you spread this pinky toe toward the outer heel. So at first it might not move at all, so you can't really see. First, it might not move for you, but you're simply, here we go. You're spreading it. You're sending a message from your brain to try. And even that is engaging this muscle. So if you can't get it separated from your fourth toe, it's okay. You're still engaging this muscle that goes underneath. Another way to think about this is lifting the pinky side of your foot up. Kick your shoes off once an hour, spread that pinky toe, and you should start to feel right away. There's almost like the way we wrap an injured knee, right? It's kind of getting wrapped. Second thing, wrist pain, okay? So for wrist pain, elbow pain, even thumb pain, the place we're going to stabilize is the shoulder blades, the upside down triangles on the back. How do we do it? Well, always starting from space. So just take a breath, just relax your shoulders back and down, expand the back of your body. So a lot of us are, when we're stressed, we are in what's called extension in the spine, right? But see if you can just add a little flexion, almost like you're collapsing a little bit, just to start with, just relaxing. And the second step then, to stabilize the bottom tips of the shoulder blades, is that we are going to, I just have to move that out of the way. We are going to engage these muscles here. How do we do that? Well, the elbows are connected to the bottom tips of the shoulder blades. So a simple way is first take your hand to here, expand all around the heart center, relaxing, and then squeeze your elbows in and back. If you touch the top of your shoulder, it should be relaxed. You're not using the traps to lift your shoulders. You're actually stabilizing the bottom tips of the shoulder blades like wings into your heart and expanding the top. So there's a sense of like rooting in and down. And this action is what heals carpal tunnel, right? So we're strengthening the upper back muscles to support the wrist, especially if you're weight bearing on the mat. You're going to want to learn how to hug the bottom tips of the shoulder blades and yet keep all that space inside. And the last example I wanted to use of using these two principles is the hips and low back. So the hips are made of this femur bone going into the pelvis and basically just this joint here. The low back is supported by the legs, by this femur bone, by the thighs. You can think of it as the legs are the governor of the low back. So depending what the legs are doing, that's how much support the low back has. So what we can do is always hug in. So finding that strength, that engagement is always hug, like giving ourselves a hug with our muscles, right? And it should feel loving. It shouldn't feel extreme or like really effortful. So if you have a block, you can grab it. Or even if you just have a toss pillow or a big water bottle, if you're sitting, just place the block between your thighs and hug it. And what this naturally does is it gives your hips and legs stability, but you can also feel how with that strength, you can root down and sit up a little taller. And when that happens, your lower back releases. So generally the lower back ends up being, kind of hurting because, well, with the pregnancy growing, the belly pulls everything forward. The hips start to come out and the thighs aren't strong, right? So the thighs are strong when they're moving in and then back, and then we can root down. So simple, keeping it nice and simple. If you're driving, if you're sitting, just place something between your thighs, hug it in and root down, and hopefully your hips and your back feel better right away. And then over time, you'll spend more time in alignment than you are spending with aches and pains, hopefully. So to just conclude, I would say the subtle, small adjustments that you make throughout the day are really the key to healing. First, taking a breath and making space even in your mind for the possibility that you don't have to feel this discomfort or pain. And then giving yourself that hug with your muscles, just feeling like there's almost like a magnet in your center, and you're just hugging in to counteract all the changes that are happening in your body, your mind, and your heart. If you can get yourself to a class, I always recommend minimum once a week to have a teacher talk you through aligning your body. So I would say, even if it's only a 10-minute thing, doing these things daily are the most important thing. Maybe you do a 10-minute video, but in addition, to have somebody seeing like, oh, wow, try doing more hugging on your right side. You might not even have noticed that you have an asymmetry, and all of a sudden you go, oh my God, that feels so much better. So daily subtle shifts, small practice to remember these things on your mat or a rug, and then a weekly class. And I wish you just the most pain-free, transformative, and empowering journey.